Greetings and welcome to Sports 101, that show that discusses sport beyond the X's and O's. Here we like to expand our conversation to include the history, past, present, as well as in the making. And we also look at sports from a people, places, and cultural perspective. I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Be sure to follow me on social media at Coach_Harp412 and Facebook under Jamar Harp. Make sure you get social with SportsZone Chicago and its litany of shows by following SportsZone Chicago as well on social media. You can find SportsZone Chicago on Twitter at SportsZoneCHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Remember, SportsZone Chicago is the world's only Black-owned sports talk app. You can watch and listen to my show as well as the many other shows in the SportsZone Chicago lineup. Keep up with breaking sports news, and if you miss something, please don't worry about it. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search SportsZone Chicago and add the page. We want everyone to add the YouTube page, but everyone, it's imperative to download the app. The SportsZone Chicago app can be found in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Now I'd like to introduce you to this week's episode, where we're going to talk about pickleball. Now, to conceptualize pickleball, I want to show you this video right here that'll kind of bring it all in together.
How about it? We've got a race to the top, but maybe not for long. Cooper grabs Shane, and the pack goes down. Left at the top is Trent. Trent's all alone. No, he's not. He's going down. Oh, we have a clean slate.
Here we go.
There it is. Looks like it's a pretty good roll there.
That went right off the camera.
Excellent roll.
There you go.
Nice. You have it. There's the winning Kevin Bulldog Bartz.
The bet from a car, getting after the muffin tin.
This is one of the most aggressive sudden death overtimes we've ever seen here on the Super Robot Fighting League.
Sudden death, one of the scary.
There it is. Oh my gosh.
No, it was just, I played against that guy so many times, and if you play against him, you know, it's like playing against a mix of Jesus, Gandalf, and kind of a bearded warrior, you know, so you gotta take it slow, and then in the end he's the butcher, but you gotta butcher him.
Pressburg and Dragshot. Here comes the attack from the left side on Dragshot. Club goes down.
That was another between the legs shot. And that's the shot that did it through the leg and up in and down.
Yeah.
All up in his junk.
That's one of the key. There it is.
Oh,
beautiful. Absolutely
nailed
beautiful.
It. Here he goes to the floor. We're going to see some under the leg action.
Floor work. Yep. Two does on the ground. That's a classic. That's not easy to do.
In the competition, you get 6 stones. They take the highest amount of skips on any one throw, and that's the number you go with.
Look at that, folks! That's what it's all about in stone skipping.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.
All right, so the weird and wacky sports listed in that video, The Ocho, which is a spinoff from the 2004 film Dodgeball, starring Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, wasn't actually a channel with ESPN. What ESPN decided to do is they would take some time and broadcast that just for a few hours or a day, one weekend, and it caught. So what happened was, again, in the movie, they depicted this fictional station that showed these type of sports, including dodgeball. Just like the video, you saw marbles, cup stacking. They have Tetris on there, air hockey, seed spitting, cornhole, hamburger eating, and various other sports that you saw in the video. ESPN 8, they actually made its actual debut in 2017. The network also did this again in 2018 for limited weekends. So after a year hiatus, the Ocho returned in 2020 during the pandemic, providing live sports for the nation that most have never heard of or don't normally watch. The Ocho returned this August for a few days, preview programming, and then they had a 24-hour run of sports on August 6th. That day, those sports included foosball, slippery stairs, golden tee, Tetris, Rottweiler racing, air guitar, grocery bagging, arm wrestling, and they had a competition for the world's best mullet. One sport not listed that could be prime time on the Ocho is pickleball. Now, pickleball is a sport listed here, and pickleball is pretty much, it's a paddle sport. It's similar to, like combines elements of badminton, table tennis, and of course tennis. If you look at the court, the size of it is basically you're playing table tennis in real life. That's the size of it. So it's either 2 or 4 players, and they use soldered paddles made of wood or composite materials, and it's a perforated polymer ball, sort of like a wiffle ball with holes in it, and you hit it over the net. So right here is a picture of the paddles. So it's similar to ping pong or table tennis paddles, and you can see the ball right there is very similar, a little larger than the regular ping pong ball. So the sport again shares features of other racket sports. The dimensions and layout are of a badminton court, which is a smaller size of a volleyball court, and the net and rules are somewhat similar to tennis, but with several modifications. One being the net is lower, and another rule, one of the most important rules about pickleball is you can never go in the kitchen, only for certain reasons. So in 1965, in Washington State, there was 3 fathers, and they had a middle-aged or middle-class dilemma one weekend where their kids were bored and they didn't want to do some of the regular entertainment. So they tried to set up a badminton court, but no one could find like the shuttlecock or the birdie to play badminton. So they took some wooden ping pong paddles and lowered the badminton net and used like a wiffle ball, and they started a sport called pickleball. And the name comes from, they say, several different places, but one of the most famous is they had a dog named Pickle. He used to always chase the ball and run away with it. They improved it and got a ball that's more similar to wiffle ball and baseball. Now the net is much lower than a badminton net, and they have fabricated paddles of plywood, and they were originally made from a nearby shed. Mr. McCallum, one of the fathers that started pickleball, said the first paddles were specifically for pickleball, and he made them in his basement out of his local bandsaw. After trying several alternative paddles, he has one he called the M2, and it became the paddle of choice for most pickleball players. So in 1972, Mr. McCallum incorporated a company called Pickleball Incorporated, and he manufactured wooden paddles to help grow the sport. Eventually, his son David McCallum took over Pickleball Inc., and he now runs a business which is headquartered in Kent, Washington. Pickleball again grew from the early 70s, and it was circulated in the Pacific Northwest. It started to go on warmer climates when people started to retire and migrate to southern states such as Arizona, California, Hawaii, and Florida. They got early sponsorship from Thousand Trails. It's a Seattle-based company which installed pickleball courts along the West Coast. So just think of like Foursquare that you played in middle school or elementary school. You're getting large Foursquare courts built with a low net in between, and that's basically what pickleball is. So in these certain communities, they would get pickleball courts built through Thousand Trails, a Seattle-based company. Today, pickleball, which is a hybrid again of tennis, badminton, and ping pong, is the world's fastest growing sport. And I want to show you a quick video as to why that is.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States, in part because it has a very short learning curve.
This is a brief introduction on how to play pickleball. Pickleball is played on a rectangular 44-foot by 20-foot court. The court is divided into two sides by a low net.
There are two sidelines, two baselines, a center line on each side, as well as two non-volley lines, which create two non-volley zones that are affectionately called the kitchen.
The center line divides each side into two service courts, the left service court and the right service court. Every point begins with a serve. A pickleball serve must be hit underhand from behind the baseline, cross court into the opposing team's service court. The serve must clear the net and not land in the kitchen. An important rule in pickleball is the double bounce rule. The double bounce rule says the ball must bounce once on each side before either team may start volleying the ball in the air. Here is an example of the serve and bounce rule. When Team A serves to Team B, they must let the ball bounce once before returning the serve. Team A must also let the ball bounce once on their side. After the ball is bounced on both sides, either team may volley the ball into the air or let the ball bounce once before striking it. The rally will continue until one of the teams either hits the ball in the net, out of bounds, or lets the ball bounce on their side twice. A unique but important aspect of pickleball is the non-volley zone or kitchen. Players may not hit the ball while standing in the kitchen unless the ball has already bounced on their side. Pickleball is a fun and exciting sport. Hopefully, this video will give you the knowledge you need to play your first game of pickleball. To learn how pickleball scoring works, go to playpickleball.com to view our pickleball scoring video.
So the video shows some key elements of pickleball. The first being, and the most important, is the kitchen. So remember, to volley or hit the ball without hitting the ground, it has to bounce once on each side. So just like regular tennis, you saw both players charge the net after the ball hit once on each side. However, they can go all the way to the net because you have that zone that you can't volley in, which is called the kitchen. If a ball is hit in the kitchen, you can return it, but it has to bounce off the ground. So the goal or strategy is, once you get to the line right before the no volley zone, you want to go back and forth with the opposing team and try to drop a ball in the kitchen so it hits and it can't be returned in one bounce. Or you can go long behind them. So those are the two classic strategies. The United States Pickleball National Championships are held near Palm Springs, California, and co-hosted by Larry Ellison, the co-founder and CEO of Oracle and owner of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, where they've been played since 2018. So again, this is a reputable tennis garden, modifying their facilities for pickleball, which has grown again in the middle class to upper class communities. This tournament has the oversight of the United States Pickleball Association itself and is reincorporated with an updated rule book in 2005 after its initial foundation in 1984. So again, they're updating the rules to pickleball yearly and trying to get this to be somewhat of a major sport in this country. The United States Open Pickleball Championship, similar to the United States Open or Grand Slam in tennis, this is the Grand Slam in pickleball, are played at another hub of pickleball, which is Naples, Florida. And this started in 2016. So remember, from the 1970s all the way up until 2016, you saw the sport of pickleball flourish and get to where it is now. Now they have, and I didn't know this until recently, again, United States Open of Pickleball Championships. And this is a major event held in Naples, Florida, with major prize money in 6 figures. that started in 2016. So let's learn a little bit more about this tournament.
Makes the window pretty small for you to jump through. Nice return by Lucy. Sets up her partner.
And a strong shot.
Defense is incredible.
Two of these guys are back trying to figure out how to reset the point. Can't quite drop it.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's in. Around the net. It's good!
Holy cow, and that's game number 1. What a game.
(7-3-1). Matt Wright serving. It's a chance to take a commanding lead of the first game.
And so, Mark, Matt and Kyle are stacking here as well. Based on what you know about these two gentlemen, what do you think the strategy is there?
Best point of the match so far.
I think we saw what the point of it right there.
Out to catch that with a forehand, which opened up the hole more than if he had gone with his backhand.
Oh, what a save. Third shot was way too high, but he dug himself out of his own hole there.
Dave Weinbach spinning around.
Oh, baby. Dave Weinbach. There's the one. It's back. Oh, man, looking for that reset. Reset into the
All right, they're back up to the net.
Oh, Ty McGuffin with the block of the century. Off the ripcord and out.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great point.
Well, they're trying to keep the Simone and the Lucy forehands in the middle. I think that's probably the sole reason why they're doing that. They both have dynamic forehands.
Oh, Corinne playing some tremendous defense here.
Great reflexes to get to it and hit it so solidly.
Wow.
Finally puts it away with authority.
Deacon and Zabindan, they're starting to be able to smell it now. 2 points away from a medal.
They're going to pick on Tyler a little bit here.
Swing and a miss. He was between the legs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Wow, a little bit of everything in that point.
And yeah, this gets the fans stirred up just a bit. And so it, I think too, Drew, it being such a social sport, it just really kind of caters to doubles more in that respect from a recreational perspective.
There are no gimmies in this first game.
And we're seeing the great defense by Corinne and Simone here.
Unbelievable.
And that's the defense I was talking about. Both players can do it.
One for the highlight reel.
Championship point right here.
How about this?
What a point. What a point. Foundation if you want to be an elite player.
First serves now in this game for Kovalova and Wright. Simone really had a look of determination as she came out of that break in action.
Oh, yeah. There's a fierce competitor inside that pickleball player, that's for sure. And we're seeing it here.
Wow. Amazing. Wow.
That was that.
Come on into the net.
Guys, it kind of looks like that Linebacker and Rospetsky kind of forcing the younger duo to play more pickleball here than hard-hitting tennis, and the plan is working temporarily, but how about that?
That's exactly what's happening here.
And that someone who's been working on and has talked about is when you go out there, don't worry about losing, but go out and go for it. And so tough to do against players like Kovalev and Wright, but they seem a little bit tentative here and reactive.
Wright hit the overhead, returned by Jardim. Oh, what a great dig there by Simone.
And then we're seeing a battle here.
Matt Wright off the net cord.
Oh, wow.
How about that reaction?
Again, so you can see from the video, pickleball is basically human table tennis. You see the strategies, two people picking on one person, the speed of the game. A lot of the names were former tennis players and ex-former athletes. And I definitely see this game taking off, especially on college campuses, different big cities. I'm sure if they had one in Chicago, Sean, Maya, Ivan, Kenneth, the whole gang could go play pickleball. SportsZone Chicago crew. I think this is a fun alternative to traditional tennis, and it brings back nostalgia from yesteryear when everybody grew up playing ping pong. And with the recent activities globally, it's better to be outside, and I think people are getting tired of the stuffiness of racquetball. So this is a great alternative. After 2016, there's an estimate for active players currently at 3.3 million, and that was the last number taken in 2019, and that was a 10% increase from 2016. Again, you can see the dimensions of the pickleball court, which again makes it more attractive to former athletes, middle-aged athletes, and again, grabbing extensive nostalgia from your ping pong days. It's a fast sport. It goes back and forth. It can be played outdoors. And again, I'll see a lot of people that were big into racquetball coming into pickleball. You see the no volley zone, also known as the kitchen, as well as the serving zones, as well as the sidelines. So you can see these dimensions are much smaller than a tennis court, which again would make it ideal for former athletes or people just wanting to stay in shape that love sports. In 2002, Gwendolyn Sanchez Vicario brought pickleball to the international stage when she represented Spain in the Special Olympics. As of 2021, there were 57 member countries that played pickleball. So each of these countries had their pickleball association. That's including United States Pickleball Association. And all these are overseen sort of like dodgeball by the International Federation of Pickleball, which I didn't know existed till recently. So according to statistics taken in March of 2021 by the British Broadcasting Network, the number of Americans who have started this sport have increased by 21% since 2020. Stu Upson, who is the chief executive of the United States Pickleball Association, said that there are 37 countries that are part of the International Federation of Pickleball, and that's more than double where it was 8 months ago. So I'd like to take a quick break, and when we come back, SportsZone Chicago And Sports 101, we're going to delve into professional pickleball and other aspects that are growing the game in the United States. I'm Jamar Harp, and this is Sports 101.
Please stop and listen because this important message may directly apply to you or someone dear to you. Several thousand African American former full-time CPS teachers were unfairly terminated starting in the mid-90s and continuing to the 2000s. If you are one of those many former CPS teachers who was unjustly terminated, or if you are the immediate relative of a now deceased unjustly terminated former CPS teacher, you may qualify to participate in a lawsuit at no upfront cost to you. Please call 773-580-7183 immediately for more information. That's 773-580-7183. Do not delay. Act today, because time is of the essence. That's 773-580-7183. 773-580-7183.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Jamar Harp, and this is Sports 101, the show that discusses sport beyond the X's and O's. Here we look at the game in the historical lens, in the past, present, as well as the future, and we also look at sport from a people, places, and cultural perspective. Make sure you get social with SportsZone Chicago and its litany of shows by following SportsZone Chicago on social media. SportsZone Chicago can be found on Twitter at SportsZone CHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, search SportsZone Chicago, but more importantly, download the SportsZone Chicago app. The SportsZone Chicago app can be found in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Now, we talked about pickleball before we left, and I just want to go back and go over the dimensions of this court again so you can finally get the just basic understanding and why the sport is growing so much, because you can see once people attack the court, it's very short movements that go backwards or forward or side to side, and particularly if you're playing doubles. So again, the pickleball court is similar to a doubles badminton court. The regulation side of the court is 20 feet by 44 feet for both doubles and singles. The net is hung at 36 inches on the ends and 34 inches at the center. The court is lined like a badminton court, but the serving line is 7 feet from the net, 6 inches further than the badminton service line. The pickleball serving line is part of the non-volley zone or kitchen, which extends 7 feet from either side of the net. The ball is served with an underarm stroke. so that contact with the ball is made below waist level. The waist is defined as the navel area and an upward arc. So basically saying there's no smash serves. Once you serve underhand and then that upward arc, you can get some spin on the ball, and that's the main thing of the game, getting spin. So just like playing badminton, when you had that one friend that will hold the paddle upside down and hit it with the crazy top spin. So every time you hit it back, it will go into the net. It's similar to this because remember, this is just human badminton in 3D. All right. The server hits from behind the baseline on one side of the center line. And again, he has to aim to the other side. Excuse me. Apologies for that. He has to aim to the other side diagonally to the opponent's service line. Only the serving side may score a point. So again, if I'm serving and I get the other team to error, I'll get a point. If I get the other team in the error and I did not serve or I returned, I would just get the serve, so I will not get a point. Some of the faults in pickleball include not hitting the serve into the opponent's diagonal service court. So again, the serve must be hit diagonally every time. Not hitting the ball beyond the net. Not hitting the ball beyond the second bounce on one side of the net. Hitting the ball out of bounds. Volleying the ball on the service return. Remember, it has to hit the ground once. Volleying the ball on the first service return by the service side. Remember, it has to hit the ground once on each side before you can volley or hit the ball in the air. Stepping in the non-volley zone, the kitchen, to volley the ball. Remember, in the kitchen, I cannot volley the ball. The only way I can return the ball in the kitchen is if it bounces off the ground first. And touching the net with any body part, the paddle, or just touching the net in general. So those are the main faults in pickleball, which are similar to badminton, tennis, volleyball, etc. Again, a player may enter the non-volley zone or kitchen to play a ball that bounces and may stay there to play balls that bounce. So if you can have a strategy, if you had one player and knowing the rules, you can have one player to stay in the kitchen and just play short bounces, and you can have maybe your more athletic, longer player play the back end and play side to side. So depending on how you want to play, that could be an alternative strategy. The player must exit the non-volley zone before playing a volley. So if I'm in the kitchen or non-volley zone, anything hitting the air, I have to duck or let go. The only thing I can hit in the non-volley zone are the balls that hit in that zone. On the first side in regulation pickleball, the first side scoring 11 points, leading by at least 2 points wins the game. If the two sides are tied at 10, the side that goes ahead by 2 points wins the game. So I can win 13-11, 15-13, etc. Again, para pickleball was started previously at the Paralympics that was held in Spain. Sometimes it's called adaptive or wheelchair pickleball, and that was officially recognized as a competitive branch of the United States Pickleball Association in 2016. If you know anything about rehabilitative athletics, which is great for the mind, body, and soul for individuals that face injuries where they may have lost a limb and are forced to compete with the assistance of a wheelchair. This is a great sport for them as well. There's less contact than basketball, which is a very valid sport. You don't want to say paraplegic. Is a very valid adaptive sport due to the speed at which the chairs hit each other. So this would be great in regards to adaptive sports. The rules for those in wheelchairs are similar to standard rules, but they have some minor alternatives. So the player's wheelchair is considered part of their body in adaptive pickleball, and all the rules that are usually applied to the body also apply to the wheelchair. A pickleball player in the wheelchair is allowed 2 bounces instead of 1. In pickleball, again, the United States as well as the International Federation of Pickleball is campaigning, just like trampoline and other sports that became Olympic sports recently. They're campaigning for pickleball to be an Olympic sport. Even though it's only been played 56 years, it has a growing like cult following. And hopefully after this broadcast, more people will see this by going to SportsZone Chicago via YouTube or downloading the app via the iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon stores and watching Sports 101. Pickleball will grow in the United States as a secondary leisurely activity again, being an alternative to racquetball, which traditionally played inside. I see the model of more outside activities going on due to recent global activities, which is a great thing. So I think pickleball really pick up in the United States. Pickleball is not yet widely played outside North and South America. It is played some places in Europe, however. The International Federation of Pickleball, again, has 57 national member organizations throughout the globe, but mainly they're in North and South America and in Western Europe, such as London, France, the judicial powerhouses in Western Europe. Now let's talk about Major League Pickleball. Major League Pickleball was a sport that was recently started in the United States. On the 21st of September, the first ever Major League sport to be founded in Austin, Texas, launched as Major League Pickleball was announced at Dreamland Dripping Springs. Again, Austin, Texas, this year started a Major League sport called Major League Pickleball at Dreamland Dripping Springs, which is a mecca for pickleball and is a great place to play pickleball. The league will feature the world's 32 best male and female players from around the globe in 8 co-ed teams as well as individual pickleball. The league will start in a tournament dubbed the Pritchard Cup. Now, this tournament is dubbed the Pritchard Cup because it's named after one of the pickleball founders, Joel Pritchard. And the tournaments just took place on November 5th through the 8th. That's how I learned about this. I was scrolling through the channels, coming from work one day. I didn't really want to watch football because, coming from football, I wanted to get a break. So I just saw this sport and I said, what is this? And it looks like a human badminton. And then, it introduced me to pickleball. So now I'm introducing you guys. Again, that tournament was recently held on November 5th through 8th. This is the inaugural season of the Major Pickleball League. The grand prize of the tournament is $150,000. And that's the highest prize pool in the history of pickleball. Now, the history of pickleball is only 56 years young. However, to get this notoriety and to get on TV so quickly shows you the growth of pickleball. Another reason it's gaining this notoriety is that the former the former tennis and other players who started to pick up pickleball, especially when they knew they could make money off of it. When I started playing pickleball, initially I was a little skeptical, but then I was hooked. I'm appreciative of the sport because it's given me with a second chance. And I think there's a lot of players out here that feel the same way. And it's good for your soul. And it's a great sport all around. And this right here, again, is another former prominent tennis player that was, mid to lower level on American Tennis Association charts in tennis, but moved to pickleball and is becoming, a high stakes player due to their tennis background. The league also has some prominent Austin figures behind it, including the founder, who is Steve Coons. Steve Coons is the owner of Dreamland and also a bottled water company called Richard's Rainwater. The president of the Major League Pickleball is Melly Price. Melly Price is a renowned entrepreneur in the Austin area and professor at the University of Texas at Austin, who founded Front Gate Tickets. Tickets was then purchased by C3 Entertainment and C3 Events, making Professor Price, a good chunk of money. The launch of Major League Pickleball is a proud moment for everyone in the pickleball community, founder Steve Coons stated. Steve fell in love with pickleball 6 years ago, And ever since he started playing, he dreamt of building an elite level pickleball league. Again, following your dreams and taking something that you see and then you see a benefit from it and other people can see that vision with you, then go for it. There were some other famous figures involved in Major League Pickleball as well, including former U.S. professional tennis player Jenny Klitsch, who serves as a commissioner, and pickleball pro and marketer Dave Fleming, who was a brand ambassador for Major League Pickleball. Also, Austin City Limits co-founders Charles Estrell and Charlie Walker were prominent members for the push for Major League Pickleball. There's a podcaster and researcher, Bryn Brown, and then you also have the former number 4 ranked player in the world, James Blake, who was behind Major League Pickleball and an investor. And then Milwaukee Bucks co-owner Mark Lazary is a part of the 8-member team ownership group for Major League Pickleball. So again, they established a strong group to get this to stay longer than it's an inaugural season. Austin, Texas, again, is becoming a hotbed for pickleball. It's already been known as a hipster town and a foodie town for its eccentric food crowd that it was bringing, similar to the Seattle, Washington. Austin developed a huge appetite for pickleball. They also have sites in Austin where you can play pickleball, and it's marvelous. I'm talking about it's manicured just like you're going to a tennis center, but it's a center just for pickleball. So you have places such as Dreamland. If you're ever in Austin, Texas, check them out. And they host 3 live professional pickleball players there, which train there. You have Austin Pickle Ranch, which is another great pickleball facility in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Austin area. The Austin Pickle Ranch is the world's largest pickleball arena or area with pickleball fields. It's being built right now, and it's going to open later on in this year in 2021. And then you also have the more traditional pickleball places and staples in Austin, like Bolden Acres, that feature the rapidly growing sport of pickleball. Now that the city is playing a key role in the elevation of leisurely pickleball and professional pickleball, is becoming, again, the world's fastest growing sport. They're getting time on ESPN, or was it CBS Sports? One of them that I saw it. But anyway, it's on cable television. And this is from the magazine The Economist. And pretty soon they think pickleball will turn into a household name. So in closing, what have we learned about pickleball in the sport? And basically the foundations of that. Not just in pickleball, but anything you want to do in life, aim high. If you have a passion about something, remember, doing that every day won't be work. You just have to turn that passion into a reality and monetize it so that you can live off of that. And these are not words I'm just speaking. I'm doing the same thing daily with my football coaching career, and also my vision for my soccer facility, getting more people in the African diaspora to play soccer, and particularly in the United States, and achieving the United States' national team record in international play with the development of my system. So those are 2 things that I work on daily. So whatever your passion is, if it's pickleball, if it's music, etc., do it. And remember, just make sure you monetize that. Remember, pickleball started as a backyard game. Now it's a pro sport where if you win a tournament, the initial tournament that's ever the pro sports ever had, you get $150,000. With increasing media and cable networks, more non-traditional sports will be shown on television, as well as other things that normally they didn't show. If you look at YouTube right now, there's a lot of people that are becoming content creators, and whether the content is good or bad, if they get a following, obviously through the matrix of YouTube, there is some monetary benefit from that. And lastly, sports like this can be alternatives until football season. If you want to get held over and see some things that are non-traditional and that'll pique your attention, try sports like this, and maybe the Ocho could become a reality instead of just watching that for the weekend that ESPN releases it every year. Thank you for tuning in this week's episode of Sports 101. Again, I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Be sure to follow me on social media on Twitter at Coach_Harp412 and Facebook under Jamar Harp. Please sure you get social with Sports 101 and a litany of other shows on SportsZone Chicago by following SportsZone Chicago on social media as well. SportsZone Chicago can be found on Twitter at SportsZone CHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, search SportsZone Chicago, but more importantly, download the SportsZone Chicago app. The SportsZone Chicago app can be found in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Thank you for tuning in to another weekly episode of Sports 101. I'm your host, Jamar Harp, and I'll see you next week at our normally scheduled time, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm gone.